What is up? Welcome back to the Contingent on You Listening podcast. My name is Steve Platts. I'm here with my co-host Isaiah
What's
Hernandez.
up, everyone?
Contingent on You Listening podcast, a podcast for everyone, mainly agents and consumers.
Everyone.
Talking all things real estate, but you know, it's everybody. Here's what we're talking about today. We want to dive right in. We're talking about the market has shifted a little bit, that we're starting to experience some higher interest rates, a little more fear that's pumped into this market. And as agents, when we produce, ways that we can stay consistent. And so we've brought in the king of consistency, my very good friend Thor Sorensen out of the Carlsbad office. Thor, thanks for
Round of
joining us.
applause for Thor.
Thanks for having me.
So Thor, you've been selling real estate 22 years. So I was doing some quick math. That was like 2001 that you started. Is that?
That's right.
And basically what it feels like to me is you've seen pretty much every market. You've seen high prices, low prices, high interest rates, low interest rates, like buyers markets, sellers markets, et cetera, et cetera. And what, looking through the numbers, we got all the dark sheets on you.
Yeah.
And looking through them, you've been consistent. You've been a high producer the whole time. And so my questions so I have a variety of different questions for you.
This is going to be a long one, Thor.
This is going to be a long warm-up question. How do you stay consistent when this market beats us up?
Yeah. So I would say that going through different markets all these years, it's helped a lot to experience different things. I know that the previous market that was down, it was actually more challenging in general, I believe, than this one because it was a distressed market and prices were falling and we didn't have the same challenges with interest rates, but we had the challenge of people wondering if they should even buy when the sky was quote unquote falling as far as prices, as banks were putting homes on the market at 20,000 lower than the last one.
Right.
So 07 was one of my most challenging years in real estate, and that was one of the things that was very different than this market was, sellers, were giving up homes and banks were taking them over and selling them, and buyers were wondering, is this even the best time to buy? So, there's some fence sitters, what I call in this kind of market, and then there was a lot of them in the previous market, but it was harder to get things done. And there were more challenges. Like my job description back then was so long of the different things that we had to do to really help with a lot of short sales and sellers getting out from under a home when they were in trouble.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that's resonated. So when I started in the same office, as you in 2005, and so I'm a kid, and you were a top producer. I mean, it was like you and Jeff Kirkpatrick, shout out wherever you are. It always amazed me, but you said something a long time ago. You talked about Tiger Woods and that he had like 7 different coaches that helped him with his swing. And one of the things that's always resonated with me about you is you've always been a big advocate for coaching, accountability, these kinds of things. Tell me how that fits into your business today. Tell me how that fit into your business as a brand new agent.
Yeah, so the coaching and training that I've been involved in has really been from the beginning. I came into real estate from the corporate world and left before I got laid off. And the person that took over my position when I left here in San Diego ended up, getting laid off. So I kind of saw the writing on the wall. And I chose to, get into the business and going into a second career. And I realized that I was really green. I was also very young at the time. And
to interrupt you, take us back then. Yeah. What year is that? That's 2001. You've got kids at the time?
Yep.
How many?
2 kids, a new house, a mortgage at the time.
I mean, you're looking down the barrel.
Yeah.
And I mean, this isn't like you have to make this work. Mm-hmm. This isn't some, let me dabble in this part-time and I'm going to sell houses on the weekend. Yeah. You're leaving your job that's W-2 that probably has health insurance and the 401k pension and all the bullshit. Yeah. And now all of a sudden you're stepping in going, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was an interesting time. I think I really had such a, bad feeling personally as a manager in this company, laying off some of my own people that I had hired, that I really hated the feeling of doing that. And so I decided I didn't want that to happen to me and chose to get into real estate. And yeah, like you said, kind of back up against the wall. It's like Aztec the Aztecs and when they burning the boats, and I burned my boats. I said, this is what I'm doing.
What month?
What month it was at
2001. What month?
It was towards the end of 2000 that I was starting to lay off my own people and leaving, and it was really right after 9/11. So October 2001.
And that's what I'm getting at. That's an interesting time. I mean, we all experienced that. Were you born yet? Anyways,
yes.
I mean, so you step into life change, mortgage, 2 kids, stepping out of an old industry. Yes, the financial market is still hot, but there's a lot of uncertainty at that time. Mm-hmm. We as a country are in a very interesting space, and you're stepping into it going, I'm going to make this work. And tell me right off the bat, you're paying for coaching?
So in the very beginning, I was absorbing all of the books, all of the free training that I could to learn what I could learn. I was just a sponge. And it was within the first few months after I started, when I had a couple of transactions that were pending, money coming, that I went to a Brian Buffini seminar 3 months after I started. So I'm going to say like July, August by the time we got to 2002. And so I jumped in to coaching pretty early on. And my ex at the time, she thought I was a little bit crazy, but I really was confident that I could do this. And I knew that I couldn't figure this out on my own, and that there were great resources out there of people that I was starting to learn about that were teaching agents on real estate sales and marketing. And I said, that's what I need. So I just kind of jumped in with Brian's program, Referral by Design, in the beginning, and then started to get exposed to other programs and did other training like Mike Ferry and other programs. But it was pretty early on.
It's so powerful for me. I mean, as a kid watching you do business, and what I remember is you were Mr. Consistent. Like, you showed up in a suit and tie. Like, I mean, you were at the office. Sometimes I feel like it's 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. There was scripting that was going on that you were doing with like Michelle Ludke back in the day and other people, and kind of brought some of the other people in the office that then along, like, hey, if we're going to do this, let's do this. I admire a couple of things about you. Number one is the high levels of effort that you're talking about, but also the humility that you're talking about, which is, hey, I don't know what I don't know. Let me hire a pro. And let me take a step of faith here that even sometimes people in my own inner circle are like, hey, bro, what are you doing? Whereas it is, I'm going to make this work. Another thing that I hear, 6 months into the industry, you had done 3 deals or something.
Yeah,
like you hit the ground running.
Right.
Do you mind? Yeah. Do you remember where those couple of deals came from?
Yeah. So early on, when we had training with Century 21 Award in the beginning, it was done so by managers, and it was managers that had certain levels of expertise. So it would be a class on expireds, a class on for sale by owners, and the managers at the time would teach that class, and everyone had a different class that they taught. And we were in La Mesa, and it was the very beginning of our 6-week, new agent program. And they were telling us, be prepared. It could take, 4 to 6 months for you to get something into escrow and, have some income coming in. Mm-hmm. And my goal was to have something pending by the time the 6 weeks ended of the actual boot camp, so that I could have, some income coming in and kind of hit the ground running. So we were challenged in one of the classes, and it was such a great program to have talk to a minimum of 21 people a day, Century 21.
Yeah.
And so I would get up in the morning, and when I would leave, I'd put 21 business cards in my pocket and head out. And this is before I knew anything about Mike Ferry, before I even really knew about Brian Buffini, and just decided would talk to people, and I wouldn't go home until I passed out 21 business cards. So I would venture out, Chamber of Commerce meetings, networking groups, different sorts of, people that I knew, contacts, just popping in and talking to people about real estate, really not knowing what I was doing. And I would get to the end of the day, and let's say I had 7 business cards left in my pocket. I stood out in front of the Trader Joe's in Oceanside.
I love it.
And talked to people randomly that would walk up. Because I said to myself, I'm not going home. I told, my wife at the time, don't let me in the door unless I've told you I got rid of all my business cards for the day.
Accountability.
So
Accountability at its highest level.
Yeah. So I visited my dad down here, right down the street, actually, here in Mission Valley one day. And it was my last business card that I gave to my dad's assistant up for that day because it was towards the end of the day. And I was down here for something, with corporate at the time. And that assistant walked in and said, "Hey, Thor, I've been thinking about buying a second condo for investment. Can you help me?"
Nice.
And I'm like, "Yes, I can help you."
Yeah.
That was my first transaction. And that was the 21st business card of that day.
I love it. And you know what? I bet some days you handed out 17 and you had 17 hard conversations, and it would have been easier to go, you know what? Screw it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'll do 21, or let me add the 4 from today to tomorrow, and I'll do 25 tomorrow. Like, I just know how the human brain works. Yeah. And it seems to me that's never how your brain has worked, that a commitment to yourself is in blood, that it's like, I'm going to do it. And that's how I've always seen it. Yeah. Thor, how is that possible? How do you do that? How have you consistently done that for over 2 decades, that it just feels like you are human, right? You're not a robot. Like, we all deal with the negative voice that's in our head that says, you don't have to get up today. Why not? Today, let's just do 10 business cards. Like, how do you combat that?
Well, I would say from the beginning, one of the things that has served me the most, I'd say this has served me the most, is just the nonstop, earning to, learn more, get exposed to more things, more training, more development, as it would be ongoing. So I really spent a lot of money, on that over the years, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars at this point, reinvesting in myself. And when I went into these different, trainings, I would always be focused on trying to learn at least one thing out of each one of them. And so why Brian Buffini's program was so great for me to start was a lot of what we learned was on mindset. The other programs, there's a lot of great nuts and bolts, but I didn't know this at the time. I was going to learn more about, self-development and self-growth than anything else from being exposed to their program. And it was a talk, one of the last talks, I think, in general by Zig Ziglar, that was at a mastermind event that Brian did. And he said, do the things you don't want to do now so that you can do whatever you want to do later in life. And that's always served me well. I thought about it this morning when I'm like, okay, it's July 3rd. I would be okay just taking it easy today, but it's, you never know when you're going to learn something. You never know when there's another opportunity when you put yourself out there and do it. So some of that training, Jim Rohn, I've been very blessed being exposed to Tony Robbins over the years, is probably my favorite. And the things that I have learned, from these guys have served me really well, especially in times like this where it is tougher to remain positive. And
right.
And the growth times, are a lot of fun. 2020, 2021, a lot of great agents, like yourself. We were on a run. We were getting the opportunity to serve a lot of people. And then all of a sudden, it got a lot quieter. Yeah. And it's like you have to lean back on things that you've learned in the past, like I have, to anything else, just to help you stay positive.
So what would you say in this market that you hold tight from those past coaches that are helping you get through, like in these dark times, I would say?
These dark times.
Golly.
It ain't as bleak as he's making it sound, people. Hang on.
Yeah. There's a lot of agents leaving the business. Thor's still here. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I would say 2007, and then, different reasons for me personally, 2008, also, very challenging and, kind of difficult to stay on course and on track. And it was one of the things that I came out of from one of Tony Robbins' programs that actually was down here at the movie theaters. I think Unleash the Power Within. And all the things that he taught and still teaches, because he's still awesome. One of the things that he said is, you're going to learn all this different stuff and be exposed to all these great things. And there's all these tools that we can give you and all this knowledge. But if you don't use them, it's as if you don't know them. and it's as if you've never learned them or exposed to them. So that's always something that's in the back of my head, almost on a daily basis, that I need to continue to move forward because there's so many things that I've learned. And if I'm not trying to move forward in some way, then it's as if I could just never learned it, never spent the money to know it.
So tell us about where are you with coaching today? Accountability today. I mean, are you paying for high level coaches? Are you pursuing stuff on your own? What does it look like in today as an experienced high producing agent?
Yeah, so it's a little bit interesting right now in this time, in a bit of transition in the marketplace itself. And I had an injury at the end of last year and actually was off my feet, not working for about 10 weeks. And I been in one-on-one coaching with a coach back east for several years, 5 or 6 years, up until the end of last year, and just paused that, for now, right, after I spent a good amount of time off my feet, not working, and not moving forward, the upcoming, potential business and transactions, and then getting through the holidays and stuff. So at the moment, I'm kind of reevaluating what is the best type of coaching and training for me to do next. And there's, a couple of different programs and things that I'm looking at right now, because I do believe it's such a great, value add to have someone in your corner. And, if anything else is just holding you accountable for the things that you say you're going to do.
Right.
So I'm on a current reevaluation for future coaching, but has still been involved in the trainings that have been offered. And now that we're back being able to have trainings again in person, and with my schedule, it's going to be easier for me to travel to other events, kind of traveling like that I want to do, and then go to, an event like Tom Ferry's summit that's coming up in Dallas in August.
I like it. Jump in.
I got a
Look
question.
at Isaiah.
I got a question, Thor. So when we go back to, I know coaching obviously played a huge role in your consistency and your success. Let's talk about maybe like daily routines, annual routines that you also stay consistent at. That might, is there anything you do with the day to day that's always been like, hey, I got to do this. I got to, how I start my day.
Yeah, even when I was going through the challenges of not working and trying to keep mindset sharp and focusing on the things that I needed to do during that time and afterwards, I was at an action workshop that was done by Tom Ferry when he worked for his dad many years ago in Rancho Bernardo at the Doubletree. And one of the best things I learned in that training was what they call the accountability checklist. And the accountability checklist is those things that you need to do on a daily basis. Let's just call it Monday through Friday. Not only to move your business forward, to move things forward for you personally. So this list can include, the time that you're going that day to the gym, making sure you're taking your supplements for that day, doing affirmations, which has always been a really big part of trying to keep a strong mindset, is looking over a list, and then gratefulness. When days are rough, it helps me to go back to remind myself of the things that I'm grateful for and what we have as opportunities here and everything living in this country and our family. So there's like a list of things, I call it the 10-10s that I'm grateful for. So that accountability checklist is, 10, 12 items long. If for that day you're going to be making 5 calls, it's just being able to check a box saying, okay, I made those 5 calls. I wrote those 5 personal notes. That's part of that list. And there's something visual with me with that checklist that I really feel fulfilled checking off as many, if not all of them for that day that I should be doing that day. So that accountability checklist really has been kind of my boss for so many years.
Awesome.
Since I don't have one.
And so talk to me on, you talk about fulfillment, you talk about success. I feel like sometimes realtors, we tend to view success as closing an escrow, closing a deal, opening an escrow, those types of things. Perhaps in actuality, success can be defined differently. Do you define it in any different kind of way for you personally or for any of that?
Yeah, well, for this year, it's been interesting and it's been different in that I looked at success this year as completing, physical therapy and getting back on my feet so I can go meet people and show homes and do what I need to do with my job. So once I got past that, it really became about building a pipeline again. And okay, it'll be successful for me to build that again because that's going to lead to the future transactions and the people that I can help. And then once that started, it was okay. Yes, opening an escrow.
Yeah.
Okay, opening a couple escrows, taking a listing. So it did become really simple this year as far as what I needed to do compared to the last couple of years when it was very busy and we were on a run. But I really don't think a lot about the actual, closing of a transaction in general, even in this market, until we're at the end, because then I'm automatically shifting to gratefulness and thinking about what can I give as a gift to thank, my clients and let them know that I'm going to stay in touch with them and I'm always here for anything that they need. So completing the transaction and the point of them reaching their goal is what is success to me, because I've always learned over the years, you can help a little number of people, you can help a lot of people, but when you take care of them, and stay in touch with them, and most importantly, is they're going to come back and you're going to be able to help them again. So happily, that's been a story of my year, even though it has not been what it's been in the past. Is people that have come back that I've served and helped before as past clients.
Great.
So it's
so fantastic. Thor, I want to end here with one final question, which is Isaiah alluded in the beginning of the podcast to the number of agents that are getting out of the industry right now.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me as if you are speaking to somebody that is thinking about getting into the industry right now. Provide some advice. Like, what do you think? If today I'm like, you know what? I want to be a realtor, but it seems scary. What advice would you have for me?
Well, I've seen people do well in markets that were, good, bad, and ugly. And during the distressed market, it was pretty ugly. This is a slower time, but it's not as ugly as that was. And there were people that started then very close to when you started. Our good friend Todd Romano here started in 2007. And my best advice would be, which I've given to a couple people in the past year, is be ready to spend some money investing in yourself and being exposed to a lot of real estate marketing and sales, and be willing to do the work. Because if you're not willing to do the things that some of these guys are saying, whether it's picking up the phone, knocking on the doors, doing open houses every weekend like I did in the beginning, before I knew about scripting and Mike Ferry, I was just in front of people.
Right.
So being in front of people and being willing to do that, it would be the key to survival / success getting into the business. Because if you're not willing to or ready to go to work, and since this is a full contact sport more now than ever, maybe not do it now, or maybe not do it at all.
Yeah, it's Thor. It's rad. It's rad to have you in studio. This story of you handing out 21 business cards, it resonates so well. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, I think it's, and I think that getting to a space where when you ran out of people to provide a business card to, what a humbling experience to stand in front of Trader Joe's. You had to set your ego aside to stand there and to start conversations and say, hey, I'm a local real estate agent. I'm trying to meet people. By the way, are you interested in, do you know anybody? Like, there is that getting over the ego. I don't think I, in the past, could do that. I don't know if I could do that today. It's an honor to have you here. It's an honor to call you my friend, and appreciate all the insight that you've had. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you joining us here on the Contingent on You Listening podcast. And I hope that you were able to take away a couple of things there that Thor said. There was so many nuggets that I was writing down. So don't forget.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Subscribe.
Please don't. Yeah, pay the bills, subscribe, like all
us,
that good stuff.
Subscribe us, share us, and we will see you soon, I hope, here on the Contingent on You Listening podcast.
Thanks, everyone.